Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Today we have the lovely Coach Ofri, who is a specialist transformation coach. Thank you so much for joining us, Ofri.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a transformational coach, so I help people to transform their lives and take new action for shifts and change, because if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same result. And in order to see change, you need to actually do something different. And coaching is about acting. I'm 37 years old. I'm very passionate about coaching and psychology and plant medicines. I also love singing, and I love chocolate.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got into psychology and coaching?
Yes, so I've done quite a few things in my life. I've studied a few different things, and I've worked in different areas as well, both corporate, non-corporate. I was also a teacher. I first got my degree as a BA in live performance because my first love and passion was acting. And then I realized I can't be a struggling actress forever, as much as I love it. And I landed up studying education, and I was a teacher overseas and here. And I saw that a lot of children were coming to me with their problems, and it was always between acting and psychology for me. So I decided it was time to go do psychology. And I also was very interested in coaching as well, but coaching was quite pricey when it first came out. And I decided to go the traditional psychology route, although coaching is very much rooted in psychology.
Yes.
And it actually helped me to understand coaching much easier once I did get into coaching. I also worked as a training and recruitment manager and specialist consultant. And once I came out of quite a toxic relationship, I had a lot of healing to do. And therapy helped, but not enough. And yes, I also landed up studying coaching. And I saw that I could actually afford to pay for coaching now that I had saved from corporate, and realized I absolutely love it, because where psychology focuses on where and why something happened, and if you have a good therapist, they'll also include the physical and somatic things, and they will help you to look at now what, but not all therapists do that. And coaching looks at, we understand you have this issue, but what are we doing about it?
Yes.
We're not going to stay stuck in the why and where it came from. We're looking at when and how, and questions that go deeper to make you raise your awareness and make realizations about yourself, and then have an action plan of what are we doing moving forward. And you come up with that action plan, because then you're more likely to actually stick to it. And I felt that's the way.
You mentioned plant medicine earlier, so can you tell us a little bit about your plant medicine experiences?
I can. So my first plant medicine experience was, I think, 2017. And it was quite intense for me. I did what they call a hero journey, which was quite a big dose. It was very visual, a very visual strain, and it took me quite a long time to integrate it and to understand all of it fully and what it means for me and for my life and my being in the world. And when I came out of the toxic relationship, I went through a period of being invited to do the plant medicine for deeper healing, where I felt that therapy helped, but not all the way. And I did about 4 sessions to do with the same topic, and each time seeing it from a different point of view. So from this side, and then this side, and then that side, and then his side, and just coming to a fuller, more rounded experience of healing and letting go, really releasing a lot more, so that I can move forward with my life, and in a more healed way, in a non-resentful way, and in understanding my lessons and why I manifested that situation and what I have to learn from it, so that I show up differently in the world.
You mentioned integration. What is integration?
So a lot of people might speak to you about having specific sessions after a plant journey to help you understand it fully, what it means for your life, what you didn't understand, and they call that integration, what you haven't accepted, what still you're dealing with and grappling with. I see integration as something that happens over many months. I don't believe that it can just happen in one session or two sessions.
Mm.
Sometimes I find it to be a little bit of a money-making scheme, even though I think it is important to have integration sessions. I don't think that you can truly help someone integrate in one or two sessions. I think that's still going to happen for them, even in their personal life outside of that. And that is when you remember something that happened in the journey. That is when a situation comes up and you're faced with the same decision and you choose to do something differently because you remember the lessons that came up during that journey or a perspective that you saw differently instead of repeating the same patterns, which is also what coaching is about. So I feel that that's something that takes a while.
Yes. Are there any steps that you take to properly integrate an experience like that?
So I do think that coaching helps a lot. I think that if you have a guide who has a coaching style that doesn't just sit and watch you, even though I understand that a lot of shamans will do that because they train that it is your sovereign right to make your own free will decisions and that they shouldn't get involved with that can be dangerous and you're in a vulnerable position and they shouldn't influence your decisions. So there is truth in that. But I also feel that if you have the psychology background or the coaching background where you can help someone through a journey where they're really stuck and they're really looping and they really don't understand something, and you can ask them the right questions to go deeper for themselves, they tend to integrate topics and ideas and concepts that they've been struggling with for a while much quicker. And especially for clients who are big avoiders, who don't want to sit with their emotions, who feel overwhelmed by their emotions, especially those who are on antidepressants or anti-anxiety meds, who've learned to numb it and not feel fully because they feel overwhelmed by it. To help that client when something's coming up and say, you know, why are you feeling nauseous? What just came up before you felt nauseous? And they'll tell you some idea or thought or feeling, and then you say, let's go there. Like feel it all the way. Don't speak, don't move, don't fidget and distract yourself. Let's just sit in that. And then they actually start to learn to feel and not push away their emotions or to deal with the fact that they might be dealing with the fact that someone might pass away and that it's an overwhelming emotion and to feel that pain fully and to cry and then it's released and they feel a big relief. So it's about feeling all the way through and that's integrating as well.
What type of traumas or experiences require plant medicine, in your opinion?
So I want to be very careful how I answer this. I think a lot of people have different opinions of what they think certain plant medicines would be good for. But at the end of the day, I think any shaman or coach or psychologist who really understands the plant will tell you all the plants help with healing, all the plant medicines. Which one calls to you? What do you feel that you're curious about or that you feel drawn to? Because that is the one that we say is the calling. And that is the one that will give you the healing that you need. Even though they can all really do it, actually. But it's about which one have you decided gives you the permission slip to let go and to fully allow yourself to do the healing. They do have different qualities, different plants. Iboga is often used, for example, for addictions. It's a hard reset. And if people set the intention to release that addiction, understand it, and let it go, that tends to be a much stronger plant for that. But I've also known people who help themselves out of alcoholism and out of smoking and out of other things through mushrooms, for example, magic mushrooms, psilocybin, because they're willing to face themselves instead of using, for example, a drug to go towards pleasure to ignore their pain or alcohol to numb their pain. They're saying, I'm willing to face the pain. So whether they're doing that on mushrooms or iboga or ayahuasca or whatever it is that they choose, I believe that they'll get the healing that they need. And I've seen that with people, no matter what it is. Some people use kambo, the frog, where you use some of their secretion off of their skin and they burn it into your skin and people purge. They have purging for about half an hour. Some people don't feel called to certain medicine, but they do to others. And that's why I say, which one is calling you? Because that will give you what you need.
Is it your opinion that everyone is called to do plant medicine?
I don't think everyone's called to plant medicine. I think when you're ready, you will feel curious about it, or you'll have a dream about it, or you'll get a vision about it, like in meditation. So I, for example, just felt curious about it. And then I got the calling for another medicine, and I got that in the meditation twice until I actually listened and went ahead with it. And it gave me what I needed in a different way to the other plant, where I was dealing with a lot of masculine hurts, and it was a more masculine type of energy. But then there might be some shamans, for example, who will tell you in the jungle, they'll laugh at you if you say that. You know, in Western culture, we like to say this one's feminine and this one's masculine and this one's the grandfather and this one's the mother. And a lot of shamans say in the jungle they'll laugh at you because that's all actually nonsense, and that all plants deal with both. And it's how you experience it that you decide it's feminine or masculine or whatever it is. Some people will tell you you'll experience this plant in this way, and then someone will go have an experience and they don't experience it in that way at all, because you're a different person and you process differently and you understand things differently, and it gives you what you need in the way that you process. And I think it's very important for people to understand that. So they might go do their research, but then they take everybody else's experiences as what they expect for theirs, and then they have a completely different experience. So rather go with an open mind.
Yes. Would you say that your experience is directly linked to your intention that you set beforehand?
Definitely. I think it's really important to set intention. There are people who do it recreationally in a party setting, and they don't get those profound aha moments, and they just kind of get a very visual experience, colors and geometric shapes, and they have fun. But that can also go really wrong if a trauma starts to come up and there's a bunch of friends around you and they're not trained and they don't know how to deal with it. It can actually be quite dangerous. In a certain setting where you feel safe, where you're in nature or you're in a room, with your psychologist, your coach, your shaman, you already feel a lot more relaxed, and then setting the intention helps to tell your subconscious mind and your spirit what it is that you want to deal with. And you don't need to control it, and you don't need to think about how am I going to go there? How am I going to deal with it? How will it come up? That is irrelevant for your mind to deal with. Like, it's going to happen regardless. It's inevitable. But what is very important is how you set that intention. So you don't want to set intent in a way where you re-experiencing things in a way you don't want to experience. But you might want to ask to release certain things, and that might mean that first you need to feel them. You need to feel that fear fully. You need to feel that pain fully. You need to drown in it, as I call it, where people will say, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. I'm scared I'm going to fall apart. And I always tell them, you're not going to fall apart. You're going to break open and you're going to release, and then you feel so much better. So it's like, to get to here, from here, you can't go around and avoid. You can't say, I don't want to go through the swamp. You got to go through the swamp to get to that other side of peace and relaxation. And because you've integrated and you've let it go, you integrated all the way. And that means feeling all the way, letting the thoughts happen all the way, rather than going, oh, I don't want to think that. That's a horrible thought. No, think it. It's coming up for a reason. It's something that is giving you anxiety. Deal with it. Let it come up. Feel what you need to feel around it, and then it calms down. So, and that's the same concept for therapy. It's the same for coaching.
There's a lot of stigma behind plant medicine, and especially because of the recreational use thereof, and a lot of stories that's come to light in recent years. What do you make of all of that?
I think that one needs to understand what they're going into, and one needs to understand that these plants are really sacred, and they do open you up in a very different way. They work with your psyche. And what is our psyche? Our psyche is our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, and our beliefs. It also can open you up spiritually as well. And if people are not very spiritual or they're new to the concept, it might feel really overwhelming.
Yes.
So you need to just be aware and know that that might happen, that you're going to be dealing with your mental processes as well as your emotional processes that you've been ignoring and suppressing, as well as sometimes the spiritual processes across timelines. This is where people get skeptical. And I think if you have someone who knows how to guide that, you are in a safe, contained space. And that's why set and setting is very important. And that's why doing it in a recreational setting, I think, can be dangerous. And not to be afraid of facing yourself. because all it's doing is connecting you to yourself. If we are divine beings, we are God experiencing itself. The creation that we made is one unity consciousness. We are coming through that creation to understand the creation that we've made, to understand ourselves fully. And then you know thyself. And if you know thyself, then you can decide who you want to be. But you can't decide who you want to be if you don't know yourself. People think they know themselves, but just ask them to go on a plant journey and suddenly they're terrified. So they're terrified of themselves. They're
Yes.
terrified of what's going to come up within themselves that they ignore and that they don't look at and that they don't deal with. And the deeper shadow parts of ourselves that we pretend doesn't exist. And if we are God and we are everything, we are the angel, we are the devil, we are the asshole, we are the mother and the lover and the nurturer. We are all powerful and weak. It's what we decide to be because we have the free will choice to decide. But once you say, I am this, you are then creating a spell with your words. That's why it's spelling. And then you will go through the experience of weak or strong because of the words you used, because you have to understand and embody that fully for the lessons with it. And so we need to be careful what we say and what we affirm and what we decide that we are. But people just live unconsciously. They think it's nothing, it's just words, whatever. And that's the point of coaching, is raising your awareness, raising your consciousness, raising how you think, raising what you feel, looking at that, understanding it. And it's the same with plant medicine. It's looking at all aspects of yourself. So when people go on about this love and light thing, I often roll my eyes, because to get to that, you need to go through your darkness.
Yes.
You don't just sit there and ignore your darkness. And that's why I say, well, I'm dark and I'm light, and I'm color and I'm gray, and I'm everything, because I'm God experiencing itself. I don't ignore any part of that, even the parts that we don't want to accept. That's us, that we blame and we point in others. Psychology shows from lots of observation, lots of psychologists have recorded it, that what we see in another is what we're seeing in ourselves. If I think that you're beautiful and you're amazing, Wendy, I'm only seeing a reflection of me. If I think that, oh, you're so bitchy and you're so this and you're so that, it's parts of myself that exist within me that
Yes.
I don't want to accept and deal with, and that I'm not ready to take accountability for. And
Yes.
that's the spiritual life, is taking accountability for all our manifestation and all our creations, for the lessons that we need.
So, do you believe that there are other methods of reaching that, basically shadow work, pushing through it, other than plant medicine?
I definitely think you can do it with a good therapist. They are trained in shadow work and they understand and they can see, based on what is coming up from the subconscious with what you're saying, where to navigate and what to deal with. The same with a coach. So with a coach, we would be even more aware of that and kind of point it out to you. We wouldn't just observe it. We would observe, but we'd point it out to you. Did you notice that this is the word you used? Did you notice XYZ? So for example, I had a client who's in an exco position, in corporate, and she speaks very much like a child and giggles like a child, and she won't finish her sentences. And I would say, why don't you finish your sentences? Do you notice your childlike manner? Do you notice that you don't want to finish your sentences as well? Where does that come from? And she'd say, I don't know. And we have one rule in coaching: you never say I don't know, because then you're already pushing away the answer.
Explore it,
And it's
yes.
not school. I don't need an answer immediately. Just reflect on it. And then she's like, I guess I feel that nothing I have to say is that important and no one's going to listen anyway. And then I say, okay, where does that belief come from? And then they start to reflect, looking back and going, well, wow, I actually remember this moment where someone didn't believe me and told me I was talking nonsense as a child. And now we understand where the childlikeness comes from, that she didn't get to work through or heal, and why she stops herself, because she believes no one's going to hear me anyway. So now it's a retraining of, you need to honor yourself. You need to finish your sentences. You must hear you. Even if I don't hear you, you need to hear your ideas and what you have to say. Honor yourself, so that I also want to honor and respect you. But how can I if you don't even honor and respect yourself?
Yeah.
So it's raising those types of awarenesses. And I think that also some people get it, just to answer your question as well, other than coaching and therapy, through holotropic breath work. It's a form of breathing, where you don't take a breath, you just keep breathing, 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 breathing. and it releases natural DMT in the body. And you tend to have big releases. There's certain somatic works, therapies that you can do. There's TRE, trauma release exercises that you could do that releases trauma from the body and things like that. But with the shadow, I think it's important to be honest with yourself, to ask yourself the hard questions, and to always go back to yourself every time you're blaming something in another. How do I do that? Why did I go through betrayal twice? How do I betray myself? Since reality works that it's as within, so without, situations will reflect back to me my belief. Not this thing happened to me and therefore that's why I believe that. It's started with my belief, how I created my reality, and then everything around me with situations and different people will keep reflecting that belief back to me. See, people are untrustworthy. See, people don't respect me, whatever. But how do you respect yourself? How do you treat yourself? How do you betray yourself? And when you work on that, because you understand how you do that, it's one thing just to label it, but you need to go further, which is what coaching is about. So how do you do this differently now? How are you going to honor yourself? How are you going to not betray yourself and honor yourself? How are you going to not lie if what you see in the world is liars all the time? Then how do you lie to yourself or to others? And then how are you going to stop doing that? And then actioning that plan. And that's also a way to do shadow work.
So that internal dialogue, how do your clients, for instance, solidify that internal dialogue where it becomes their nature to believe and fall back on that thought that you implemented within them?
Yes. So often coaches will use exercises, different various exercises, but we would first start with you first realizing what it is that you do believe about yourself that you're not even aware of. So we do certain exercises. For example, I have an exercise around, it's called injunctions. And injunctions is the beliefs we've taken on from the world that's not even our own belief, but we believe it's our own belief. So how did your mother look at you as a kid? She wouldn't even have to speak. She'd just give you that look. And then oh, I need to be a good girl right now. So you've told yourself, I need to be a good girl. Because if I'm a good girl, then I'm accepted and then I'm loved. Then I won't have people getting angry at me or rejecting me. So now you've created a whole belief system from one moment, but it wasn't even yours. It was their belief that got imparted onto you, or with your dad, or with a teacher, or with peers, or men would tell you, you're not feminine unless you have long hair, Why did you decide long hair is feminine? Oh, because, why did you decide to dye your hair that color? You think it's hot. Hot for who? For men. Okay, so you're listening to what the men are saying. It's not even your belief. So looking at that first, and once you understand that, saying which one is harmful to you, which one is helpful that you agree with, actually you do agree and it is your belief and like it is a core value for you, and where is it not, where you think it's been harming you, and then you cross it out and then you write the affirmation you do want, and then you actually have to go do those affirmations. But it's not just about a tick box exercise of just having a piece of paper and reading it over and over. I've realized that doesn't help. And that's why people stop after a week or 2 weeks, because they're not doing the affirmations properly. Affirmations is not about just reading words over and over.
Yes.
Visualizing is good. But the reason we visualize is to evoke an emotion and a feeling, because that's how we manifest. And that's how we move ourselves out of the other feeling that we don't enjoy feeling. So instead of going, I am enough, I am enough, I am enough, you actually need to feel it when you say it. You see the words and you feel the feeling when you do it. I am who I am. And that is enough. Okay, that's way more powerful than I'm enough, I'm this, no, right? So it's about evoking that emotion. And when you do affirmations each night and each morning, you're drilling it into the subconscious. You're drilling it, you're drilling it, you're drilling it, you're drilling it until it becomes more natural. It doesn't feel weird to say this. And I actually start believing it. And I actually really feeling it. And when the situation comes up now, I don't feel as insecure. And I say, it's not about me if this is how they react. It's about them.
Yeah.
It's about what they think and what they feel and then their unhealed traumas. It's got nothing to do with me. And you start to see the wood from the trees. But you got to keep at it. You can't expect to change your life in a week like that.
Yes.
Because you said affirmations. It's about consistency, but also doing it correctly. And every night when you close your eyes, let the affirmations come naturally, because then you come up with things that you wouldn't have normally come up with as well. I'm so grateful for that dog that licked me today. You wouldn't have thought of that if you're just reading it off a piece of paper, saying the same things. I'm so grateful for love. I'm so
Yes.
grateful for strangers' kindness. You know, that lady that did that thing for me today, that was so kind of her. I'm so grateful that there is actually so much good still in this world. And you start to feel that, you know, then you're shifting yourself out of the negative mindset,
Mm.
the negative self-talk, the
Yes.
lack, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult to break down a lifetimes of bad thoughts and affirmations that you've put into yourself, and you've affirmed those bad cycles over and over and over again within yourself, and then expect it to just change in a week, and that doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Avi, what are your future plans going forward? Do you have any specific goals or events happening currently?
So we have an event coming up called the Serenity Festival, and it's about healthy living. There's going to be healthy food. They're going to teach about Ayurvedic medicine and plant medicines and just healthy ways of being, meditation, um, beautiful cacao, which is a nice heart opener, things like that. And it's especially for those who are feeling stressed out and they don't have work-life balance and they don't know anything about spirituality or plant medicines or healthy living or meditation or any of these things. So we're going to be giving talks about it there. And we're also just going to have fun and let go and relax and not get bogged down with work. So Serenity Festival is happening from the, I think, 25th, 26th, 27th, or 26th to the 28th. I just need to double check, of October this year. And it's going to be at the Klitgras Drumming Circle in Pretoria. So I'll be giving a talk there about mental health. And then I'm about to study through an institution in America called Vital, and it's called um, it's called psychedelic integration training. For me, it's just more about networking and collaborating, and help. You know, there's psychologists who are doing it, there are coaches that are doing it. There's also people who are just interested in it, shamans. So it's also really great for networking and meeting other people and learning from each other. I really love learning. Don't like exams, but I love learning. And I'm also now currently working on something which I don't want to speak about too soon, with another group of people about healers and alternative practitioners, alternative therapies, and meeting them with seekers. And how can we marry the two together in a way that's really beneficial for both sides? Yeah.
Fantastic. So, if one of our audience members would like to get in contact with you regarding coaching or psychotherapy or so on, how can they reach you?
So I have an email. It's coach at call to self, TO, not the number two. So answering the call to yourself, .co.za. Coach at call to self.co.za. And then I've also got a website. The website is call to self.co.za. And the email is coach at call to self.co.za.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
time today. And we look
Thank
forward
you.
to the event. I might even just see you there.
Thank you. Wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you, everyone, for checking in. And it's always lovely to have you with us. And we'll see you next time.